All right, so part 3, sorry I had to break this up into 3 parts. Like I said, there are time constraints with the length of the video that I can actually upload at once. So we had to break it up into 3 parts, but fortunately this last bit shouldn't take very long. So we are given here that line M and line N are parallel. To find the values of X and Y in the diagram below, validate your answer by using theorems, postulates, definitions, etc. in a 2-column proof format. Your proofs, as I said before in class, not all of them are always going to look the same. So depending on how your brain works, you may actually take this in a completely different direction. But since we're actually supposed to use a 2-column proof format, you do want to set up a column, 2 columns, and statements and reasons, maybe into the side of those notes there. So go ahead and do that real quick. If you need to pause, feel free. But we're going to start here with our statements. As always, start with your reason of given. So we know that we are given that line M and N are parallel. Okay, and it even shows us in the diagram with those little pink arrows that those 2 guys are parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and say M is parallel to N because it is given. Okay, and I'm probably going to have to zoom in here some because I'm going to need a little bit more space. So let me do that. Okay, and going here, let's look at our diagram. We want to try to find X and Y. Okay, so that's our goal with this problem is I need to find this and I need to find this. Find them. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. We know these 2 lines are parallel. And I also have what looks to be a transversal right there. Transversal. And I've also got another transversal right there. Transversal. Wow, I'm going to redo that. Transversal. There we go. Every now and then my iPad doesn't like to pick up the stuff very well. Sure, Mrs. Anderson, blame it on that. Anyway, so we have 2 transversals, we've got 2 parallel lines, okay? We have to find these X and Y values. So what theorems or postulates can I use? Well, the first thing I see here, of course, if I'm looking at X and Y, is I see that they lie on the same line along with this 50-degree angle. So the 3 of them all added up together should make 180. So that might be useful information. So before I put it in my proof, I'm going to go ahead and write down useful stuff down below. Okay, so I'm going to say useful. We know that X plus 50 plus Y will equal 180. Okay, so now the question is, oh, okay, can I use that yet? Well, we don't really know much other than that. So let's see what other useful information I can pull out here. So if I look here, we know that this line, N, is parallel to this line. And I also see this other angle here, the 70 degrees, is formed with this transversal. Okay, so if I look at my paper, you can even turn it sideways if you want. What relationships does 70 have with maybe one of our angles here? Well, in fact, if I look at 70, okay, here's 70, right? Isn't it the corresponding angle with somebody? Okay, it's formed with this parallel line and this transversal. Is there somebody else who has the same situation? Yes, in fact, if I look at X, it's this parallel line and the same transversal. So I know that X is going to be congruent to 70 degrees because it's corresponding. Remember that one? And that is actually a postulate, which is very useful because we know it's something we don't have to prove. So I think that might actually be a really good starting place, because if I can figure out what X is, then I can build my way to Y. So I'm going to go back to my proof now and say for number 2, and I'm sorry, this little transversal word is in the way. Just put a little line there, keep it out of the way. We're going to say for number 2, I'm going to say that angle or, well, let's say the measure of x, or the measure of angle x, okay, or just x in general, okay, because it's kind of like a number that we're talking about here. X should equal 70. Well, we should say congruent, excuse me, I'll say congruent. X degrees is congruent to 70 degrees. There's my little degree signs. Because of corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. Corresponding angles postulate. P-O-S-T. There we go. Boom. All right, so corresponding angles postulate. So we know then that angle x is actually equal to 70 degrees. And I'm just going to tag that on there, x equals 70, okay? Because it still kind of goes along with the corresponding angles postulate. All right, number 3. Now that I know that x is 70, okay, I'm going to be able to use that in just a little bit. But let's go back to our useful information here. We know that x plus 50 plus y equals 180. So I'm going to say x plus 50 plus y equals 180. And that is because they all lie in the same line, so they are supplementary angles. All right, so we've got that now. So let's start seeing what we can do. Now I know that x is 70 now because of the corresponding angles postulate. So if I go here, wherever I see x, I should be able to write 70. Okay, and say 70 plus 50 plus y equals 180. Now, what did I do there? Okay, I substituted 70 in for x. So the reason for this, and this isn't one we haven't used yet, but we are now, is because of the substitution property of equality. It was on your list, we just haven't used it yet, but now we are. Substitution property of, I'm gonna move over, oh, I'm out of space, equality. Let me just erase that real quick. Of equality. There we go. So I squeezed it in. All right. So we have substitution now. I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms because they're all on the same side. I'm going to combine 70 and 50 to make 120 plus y equals 180. And I combined like terms. And so now that I have 120 plus y equals 180, I can go ahead and subtract 120 from both sides and say y is equal to 60. And this is all because of the subtraction property of equality. All right, so we actually have our answers here, okay? We just had to find the values of x and y and validate our answers using theorems, postulates, definitions, etc. Just to kind of sum up, I'm just going to go over here and just write x equals 70 and y equals 60, okay? Because if I add 60 plus 70, I get 130, plus 50 makes my 180, so that makes me very happy because that works for this. And I'm going to go ahead and circle that for my final answer. What I'm also going to do, just to kind of highlight the steps that I've used to find those, step 2 is where I saw the answer to x, and then step 6 is where I finally got to what y was equal to. So there we go.